so that we take what is ours. Africans should not be neglected as if we are pigs. All these politicians, they align with their European counterparts to make sure that they stop us from, advancing like Western Europe, like United States of America and the Asian tiger. What are we waiting for? Pan-Africanism is it. And that is what will give us the freedom we are campaigning for.
The EU and the UK do something about, Africans that are fighting for freedom, that are being arrested in other parts of, Europe, in US, in Norway, in Finland. That is our time, they look into this. What's your take as regards Pan-African and associate now calling out the likes of Tinub to release Nnamdi Kanu and do the info before they take them to international level?
That is a very welcome development, because we've seen that African platforms like ECOWAS, AU have been bought over by the colonial imperialists, the British, the French, the Belgian, and the rest of them in Western Europe. See, before it was AU. If you have a case within your country before, and you go to AU, report to AU, report to ECOWAS and AU, they would do something about it. I mean before, but this time they don't do anything. Why? Because they have, sold out to Britain, to the Spanish, to the Belgians, to the French. They are no longer taking action. They are no longer fighting for the common Africans anymore. That's why Pan-African group are platforms, a podium, African in unity. That's unifying the whole Africa to fight against, inhumanity of most of the African leaders against Africans. So Pan-African activists, they have taken right activism to the next level, and they're coming together to fight for Nnamdi Kanu, to fight for Ayuba and other freedom fighters that have been, incarcerated in Europe, like Simon Ekpa. Ayuba was incarcerated in Norway, and they have come together to join forces with other African rightists or human rights activists in diaspora to fight this kind of, let me say, menace encroaching entire African continent. It has not started today. Before independence, they were there. The African nationalists, Mandela, Odinga, Milton Obote, Nnamdi Azikiwe, Zlopo Senghor. There are many of them, even Jomo Kenyatta and Julius Nyerere. That was how they started, liberating African countries from the hand grip of British hegemonies and the French hegemonies, the Belgians and the Spanish, even the Portuguese. And they actually fought it, to the level that independence of Africa started, African countries started in 1957. Ghana got it. Before Ghana or after Ghana, before Ghana, Egypt got their own. And then South Africa, they hold South Africa as a result of the kind of resources they have there. And the numbers of the years, the Bola, the Dutch, they stayed in Africa. They complained that they don't know their home anymore. They could not trace their ancestors back to where their origins, where they come from. That's why they stay put in Southern Africa for how many years? Until 1989, they actually left South Africa during the era of Perez de Kuala and the Pieter Botha. Pieter Botha was the last, colonial, president of Southern Africa in 1989. After releasing Mandela, Mandela spent 27 years in prison from 1962 to 1989. Mandela was freed, and South Africa granted independence. And their first ever president, I think, became Mandela. That was in 1992. Yeah, Mandela was made president, I think so, and until he resigned after. So let me tell you, it is a welcome idea, situation, or movement, because failure to do that, you will find out that Britain is coming again. Even if they don't come in person, the kind of agenda the British, the French, the Spanish, the Portuguese are using, against Africa is more painful than colonial era. Because what is happening presently is they throw someone, a political leader, someone they should stay at his back, even against the choices or mandates by the Africans. They will support someone that will be dancing to their costumes, someone they should be, controlling, someone that doesn't have vision to better the Africans. These are the people they should, support, place them at the front, even helping them to rig election. The way they rig Nigeria election, didn't you see something about it? We all went out en masse and voted Obi. Tinub because the British, the French, the Spanish, the Portuguese, the Americans, even under Joe Biden regime, he supported Tinub. That's why our votes in African continent doesn't count. This continent, you vote or you don't vote. The imperialists, they back the back leaders, they back the greedy leaders that will be helping them to siphon our natural resources into Europe. That's why you find out that each and every time we had presidential election in the past, you see European observers, you see American observers, you see United Nations, they are here. These are the bandits we are talking about, ex-convicts that actually supported, invasion of Africa in the past. And they are working hard presently to make sure that that kind of ideology or agenda that's sold before African independence will be thriving in this present dispensation. I tell you, the American, the European, the United Nations, the foreign observers that are coming to conduct presidential election in Nigeria, connive together with Tinub, connive together with Buhari. Obama was the one that rigged Jonathan out of office. This is what Africa has been going through. So that's why I am seeing freedom fighters in Africa, somebody like Ekpa, somebody like Kanu, Ayub of Mbazonia. It is only the African rightists, human rights activists, the Pan-Africanists, united together or coming together. Mbazonia must surely come, and Biafra will actually emancipate. Kanu is coming out willy-nilly. They are going to work hard to make sure that this month should be the last month Ekpa will be incarcerated in Finland. You can see what actually happened or transpired, a situation whereby the 4 Igbos, the 4 Biafrans arrested with Ekpa in Finland has been what? Gain their freedom. That is a wake-up call. And I can tell you right now that not only the Igbo lawyers are fighting it now, Africa, Pan-Africanists, they are consisted of Burkina Babes, Ghanaians, Zimbabweans, Southern Africans, Tanzanians, Kenyans, Nigerians, whether Biafra, Igbo or Yoruba. All these are strong Africans that are working hard as freedom fighters in diaspora. They are coming together as Pan-Africanists. Pan-Africanism is it. That movement is the only thing that can elevate Africa from the poverty as an injury inflicted on this continent by our European, colonialists. They are very, very disastrous. They mean disaster to African nation. They are taking us backward again, trying to neocolonize us. You see what is going on? Yes, the ideology is neocolonialism because they are in control. They are dominating Africa. They are at the back door using most of the greedy politicians. You see what is happening in Kenya. Kenya almost erupted into full escalated war last year. Yes, that is it. Who are the problem there? Britain. You see Cameroon, the Pobia actually, was deposed or beaten to death last year in France. In 2023, nearly 2 years now in France. What happened was that Pobia was there since 86 or more as their president, going to 40 years, if not up to 40 years now, 40 something years. Why? Because Amada Hijo took air and they resigned until 1989. I think he actually was out of power, in Cameroon. They actually, elected another person, and he was Paul Biya, the 92-year-old president who was there since 1980s, is still ruling Cameroon. Who are the people that are causing this kind of injury on Africans? The British, the French especially. And you can see that the whole Francophones in Africa, all the French-speaking countries in Africa, they are coming together to begin the kind of campaign for emancipation of truly African nationalities. Exactly what Captain Traore is doing in Burkina Faso. Other Francophones have started emulating him. Mali is there. Senegal is coming. Wait for Cote d'Ivoire. Cote d'Ivoire has started their own movement. It is the high time the Anglophones, the English-speaking countries in Africa should come together as Pan Africanists to fight the British imperialism. The British we are talking about, Nigeria boasted of having or getting their independence in 1960. It is a lie. There are still glitches in the system we run here because Britain still have hand in our nascent democracy. Nobody is operating or operating democratic system of government here. What we have at the back door is the British controlling, remoting our so-called political leaders, feeding us with what? Granite and peanut, actually siphoning the major money, the major, let me say, natural resources, natural endowment that God has given us here into the United Kingdom, into the French land. Why is Tinub always visiting Macron in France? Don't you know what is going on? Too much money laundering going on. Tinub government borrowing too much billions of dollars from China, and where are the money being sunk to? Nothing. They are sinking the money only into their personal account, taking care of their families, leaving Nigerians to die of what? Multi-dimensional poverty. That is what Nigerians are going through today. Go to the streets of Lagos, Abuja, Kanu. Go everywhere in the southeastern Nigeria, you see people scavenging for scraps, for condemned iron, for plastic, for nylon, for discarded, materials on the street, on the waste bin. That has actually told the whole world the kind of multi-dimensional poverty Nigerians are passing through. The British are the cause of our problem.
Okay, but if these African countries like Nigeria, like Cameroon, don't do the needful by releasing these people that Pan-African Forum wants, an associate wants to release, do you think that they have what it takes to drag this country to the ICC and to United Nations to do the needful?
Yes, ICC, I'm telling you, they can do the needful based on the genocide going on presently, because you can see they have started it in Burkina Faso. The French want to kill that young boy, that 6-year-old Captain Traore. That's why they are paying Fulani militia all over Sahel country have been bought over by the French. Macron regime has employed almost the whole Sahel Fulani militias to fight the young boy. Just 3-4 days ago, they nearly attacked him, but he used drone. Military equipment he bought from South Korea, China, Russia. He used drone to bring the militia from Fulani countries down. That's why he has actually come out to tell the Fulanis to give them quick notice. And actually, the headers, the Fulani bush dwellers, and even the ones that are living in township, they have all absconded Burkina Faso. That is a good idea. So what I'm trying to say is that ICJ is a threat too. Where is ICJ located? ICJ is located in Europe. Who are the chief judges who are presiding over the World Court judge in Hague, in Brussels? They are the Europeans. So going to ICC, I think it is a welcome idea. But if you ask me, we are drawing ourselves that back, because the Europeans are the one in charge there. What are we going to do? There should be revolution set up. Something that happens across Europe during 18th, 17th centuries. Something that happened in the United States of America. I think 16th, 17th centuries. When it was obvious in America that British was in control. Yes, the rest of nationalities in America, they gang up together against the British to actually tell Britain, you are not solely the owner, the colonial master in the New World. The Spanish, the French, the Italians, the Japanese, the Chinese, everybody are there. The Dutch, they are there in America. So they come together to form a union called America is for Americans. That is Americanism. They fought British under a general, George Washington. In 1770s, America had their own president and formed a very strong union that fought American Civil War, and they brought the whole union, United States Union, both North and Southern USA, to a very strong single union under Abraham Lincoln. And today, America is working. So what I'm trying to say is that the whole country in Africa should unite together, turn their back against United Nations, ICC, and even Organization of African Unity, which is currently translated to what? AU. Turn their back on these platforms. United Nations is not for black man. United Nations was formed in 1945 to use black man as experiment. siphon all our natural resources into the United States of America, into Europe themselves. I'm telling you, Americans are benefiting from Africa. The British, the French, the Belgians, Spanish, and Portuguese, they are still rearing Africans as slaves. That's why they always siphon the precious stones, the gold and the diamonds in Congo DR and other parts of the world, like Burkina Faso, uranium over there, and gold that are deposited naturally in quantum in that country are being siphoned into Europe by the French. And today, Traore is doing work to transform that country into one of the most advanced third world country on the continent of Africa. And you can see France is not happy. So what I'm trying to say is that going to ICC is wasting of resources, because white man does not regard you and I. They see us as pigs and monkeys. If you go to ICC level, taking all these political leaders and the neocolonialists to Europe, it is going to favor them. ICC belongs to them. ICC does not belong to black man. So I'm telling you that the Pan-Africanists, they should come together, unite in Africa, and rise up. An uprising, the kind of revolution that will take Africa by storm, is going to correct the anomalies politically on the continent of Africa. You see, when apartheid was on progressively in Southern Africa, there was this reconciliatory attempt made by South Africans. They formed ANC, they formed other groups, you know, headed by, the other one was headed by Mandela, the other one was headed by other men, you know, that were standing on their foot to assist the blacks separate from the white, or fight the white for South African independence. Until what happened in 1989. By then, Mandela has spent over 26 years, getting to 27 years. They succeeded on doing that. Because why? They actually stood on their feet that there must be a revolution in Southern Africa. The whites were killing the blacks in their large number, and the black, you know, stood up and began resisting their white counterparts. Yes, the black South Africans sacrificed their life. In Europe, Bonaparte, what is that his name? Napoleon. He stood up. That was French Revolution. He fought the war against the monarch over there, French monarchs. They always stand on their selfish way. They don't stand for their people. Their stand is for their family, their wife, their gold, their bank, their everything, believing that it is God that has given the king right to lord it over, you know, the citizen. I don't really understand. That was the era of monarchy in Europe. They stood up on their foot, I mean Europeans. Yes, industrial revolution. Yes, there was political revolution as well. And they do what? They gang up against the king and the queens and started sending them to the gallows. Gallows is a very big equipment that they use to send the king and the queen and cut their head in the public execution of the kings and the queens in Europe. They were all sent to the gallows in Europe. So that is what will exactly happen in Africa. We are going to campaign so that we take what is ours. Africans should not be neglected as if we are pigs. All these politicians, they align with their European counterparts to make sure that they stop us from, you know, advancing like Western Europe, like United States of America and the Asian tiger. What are we waiting for? Pan-Africanism is it. And that is what will give us the freedom we are campaigning for.
Okay, we've seen Waziri Fadambaka call Tinub government for release of Kanu. He said they should do the uniform and the Biafra should pray for him. Do you agree with this?
I think Biafrans are praying for Mazen and the Kanu. The only thing that is remaining now is that they have not declared national prayer and retreat. You know, the Igbo Christians do retreat. Yes, do night vigil, do crusade in their various denominations. If you're a Christian, if you are from Pentecostal, if you are from Orthodox, stay overnight, pray for Mazen and the Kanu, pray against the Tinub government, pray against federal government of Nigeria. Very sound Ochigi Jaga prayer. God can do anything so that God will bring fire. Don't interject. Listen, I am an Igbo man. If you hold me, you are my enemy. I will tell my God to kill you. I don't care. Because Mazen and the Kanu has suffered there for how many years now? You know the trauma he has going through. I am praying to my God. Nothing like say God touch. God doesn't touch. God will fight for you against your enemy. Your enemy is fighting you to kill you. Look, I don't mean that kind of prayer. God will destroy our enemies. God should destroy the enemies of Mazen Kanu, the enemies of Africans in Kenya, in Cameroon, in Gabon, in Burkina Faso, all over Africa. We mean Pan-Africanism. We should strive very hard. Strive very hard to do what? To grab what belongs to us. You don't pet anybody when you are talking to God. You don't pet witches and wizards when you are talking to God. You tell God to kill them. God has right to unalive or disalive any wicked man. The African leaders, political leaders, especially in Nigeria here, they are more than wicked, very, very inimical and unfriendly to Nigerians, especially the Igbos that have been going through a lot since independence of this country. After giving Nigeria independence, the Fulani, the Hausa, and the Yoruba, they came up against Igbos. They fought the war, accusing the Igbos of orchestrating the coup of 1966. Okay, tell me what has happened presently. Someone actually educated everybody that the major people in that coup are the Yorubas, the Fulani, and the Hausas, and the other tribes. Igbos are just two in number. Why must you neglect Igbos all the time? We needed a national prayer, a national crusade, whereby we will petition God to actually silence all our enemies.
The normally placid streets of Enugu burst into intense activity for probably the wrong reasons.
Release our director. We want our freedom.
A small crowd of youths flying what they call the Biafran flag line the streets to lend their voice to the latest agitations for a separate entity and in defiance to police warnings.
The armies and SACs and police came in that summit road. They shot tear gas at us, but we didn't run. They shot tear gas again and we didn't run. But when they look at it that we are gallant, that we are not afraid, they begin to shoot at us.
So, and what we want to tell the Nigerian government is to release our leader. Because if they don't release our leader, we are telling you by the time we are going to do another mega protest. This one, you will know that this one is just a child's play.
In response to the protesters' allegation that some of them were shot by security operatives, the Enugu State Police Command insists that the demonstrations have so far been peaceful and there's been no violence anywhere.
All of a sudden, someone is seen, coming up, and in their large numbers. So in that case, what we will try to do is to manage the situation so that it does not degenerate into uncontrollable situation, because you might even try to, whatever thing you do might even meet resistance, and in that case we begin to talk about genocide, and we don't want to be identified with that. So we just carefully try to manage the situation and watch out for what we are looking for.
It's most unlikely that any of the protesters experienced the events of the original Biafra, but their agitation for the resurrection of a best forgotten point in history has to be handled delicately but firmly before it gets out of hand. Charles Eruka for Channels Television News.
And to look further into the agitation of the Biafra youths, let's now join Linda Higbe from our Abuja studio. Over to you now, Linda.
Hello and welcome to Abuja. The Nigeria police says it is not finding the actions of the protesters calling for the actualization of the sovereign state of Biafra funny, as clearly the actions question the unity and sovereign entity of Nigeria. Therefore, under the law, their actions are treasonable. The police warn that there is need for caution in making their unconstitutional demands. Now, joining me on the news at 10 is the Deputy Inspector General of Police for Operations, Mr. Sotonye Wakama. Mr. Wakama, you're welcome to the news at 10.
Thank you for having me.
Now, you just watched the last report. What do you think of the seeming intransigence of the pro-Biafra protesters?
Well, let's start by getting something right. This is a democracy. Any person, any group of persons can protest or agitate for whatever it is they want, with the caveat that they do so within the law. The problem that we're having with this particular protest is that some actions of the protesters are not within the law. Some of them are carrying cudgels, they're acting in a riotous manner, they're blocking highways, carrying a Biafran flag and things like that. And these things are threatening to other persons. So if they behave in a calm, reasonable and rational manner, Nobody will protest about it. We won't have any issue about it. But as it is, they are breaking the law.
But back to the reason for the protest, the police, you're saying that it's treasonable. Now, do you think the people are aware of this?
Well, first of all, whether it is treasonable or not, we'll leave that to the courts to decide. It's not for us to rule one way or the other. But if they don't know what they're doing, ignorance of the law is no excuse. So.
Now, the Inspector General of Police on Friday issued a warning on this ongoing mass protest, but clearly it is being defied by the protesters. So what do we expect next from the police?
Well, as you have said, a warning has been given, and everybody knows about that warning, has heard of it. We have so far tried to manage this matter such that it doesn't cause too much inconvenience, let's put it that way, to people. But if it continues, and if it continues outside the ambits of the law, then the police will take the necessary action that the law dictates.
By necessary action, what do we mean?
You will arrest and prosecute people.
Oh. Okay, now, one of the demands of these young men is that their leaders are being held in by security operatives. Do you have any of their leaders in your custody?
Not to my knowledge, but we are aware that I think one of the leaders, Kanu, has been apprehended, maybe by one of the other security services.
Not the Nigeria Police Force?
No.
Now, what if they refuse to heed to the warnings of the Inspector General? What are your options?
Well, our options are dictated by law. It's very simple. If you are breaking the law, then it's the duty of law enforcement, not just the police, other law enforcement agencies too, to apprehend those